Yes, we have an Italian thinker who worked with Heidegger, did Walter Benjamin for the Italians, and is, as you all know, one of the most inventive, brilliant, what's that, researcher. He always comes up with things nobody has thought of and surprises us to that something like the Holy Fathers of the Church suddenly become important. So please welcome the Holy Father, Giorgio Agamben.
In the last years, I have focused my investigations first on law and then upon theology. Why? A first answer, which is obviously a joke, but every joke has a serious core, would be because these are the only two fields in which Michel Foucault did not work. A second answer, apparently more serious, but every seriousness has a core of a mockery, would be because I wanted to understand what is politics, and I had the impression that in the juridical and theological spheres, what in political philosophy presents itself as the arcanum imperi, the mystery of power, becomes clear and even acquires a kind of transparency. For the 2 past years, I have concentrated my investigations upon liturgy. This should not be surprising, because liturgy is, in theology, what ontology or metaphysics are in philosophy. A theologia prima, as theologians say, like ontology, is philosophia prima. On the other hand, it seemed to me that only if I could understand what is a liturgical act, I could answer to Arendt's question, what does it mean to act politically? As a matter of fact, the proximity between liturgy and politics is implicit in the very term liturgia. The Greek term liturgia comes from laos, people, and ergon, work, and means therefore literally public action, activity done for the people. In Athens, liturgia designated the activity, the works, that citizens who had a certain income were obliged to do for the city. For instance, to organize the public games, gymnasiarchia, or public feasts, the choregia, and, in case of war, to arm a ship, trierarchia. As you know, the history of a term coincides with its translation. And in this perspective, I would just underscore the crucial importance of 2 moments in the history of the term liturgia. The first one were when the Alexandrian rabbis, who translated the Bible in Greek, chose the term liturgia to translate the Hebrew sheret, which meant the cultic activity in the temple. I do not have the time here to dwell on the reasons that pushed the rabbis to choose a political term for naming the cultic activity. The second moment, even more significant, was when the Latin Christian fathers, especially Ambrosius was the first, chose the Latin term officium, office, to designate, in the same sense, as a translation for Liturgia, the cultic praxis of the priest. The importance of this event for Western culture could not be overrated. One of the catastrophic consequences of this translation with the term office was the entering of duty in the sphere of morals, a real catastrophe for Western ethics. Officium was often translated as duty. It is not really duty in Latin, but it was often translated as duty. So, but the time is short, so let me begin my summary genealogy of liturgy, choosing a place in Germany in the 20s, the Benedictine Abbey of Maria Laach. Here, in the same years in which Marcel Duchamp is working to his Grand Vitre and Martin Heidegger is preparing his masterpiece, an unknown monk, Odo Kassel, works to the birth of what was to be called the liturgische Bewegung, the liturgical movement. The first 30 years of the 20th century have been called the age of movements. Not only on the right as well on the left of the political scene, the parties are replaced everywhere by the movements, but in every field, literature, art, the movements take the place of the school and of institutions. You will remember that when in 1914 Freud had to find a name for what he was doing, he thought first a psychoanalytical school. No, then he chose psychoanalytic movement. We still lack, by the way, a serious investigation on that phenomenon and why the term movement acquires suddenly such a power. But let's go back to Odo Kassel. In 1918, he made his dissertation at the University of Bonn. It was written in Latin, and the title was De Philosophorum Graecorum Silentio Mystico, on the mystical silence of Greek philosophers. Here we find more or less clearly stated the two fundamental theses that will guide his future investigations. First, the pagan mysteries were not a secret doctrine, which could be said but was forbidden to divulge. Pagan mysteries were a praxis, an action, dromena, that were able to enact the salvation of those who take part to them. Second, there is a genetic continuity between pagan mysteries and Christian liturgy. Christian liturgy is a mystery, in the same sense, is a praxis, is an action. I would just suggest that this thesis, especially in the context of Germany in that moment, could have anti-Semite implications, because it